about a heaven in Alberta, where they've got all hell for a basement. Yeah, I lost my way, but I hear tell about a heaven in Alberta, where they've got all hell for a basement.
All right. Hi, everyone. Frankie here. New West Reset. Hello. How's it going, eh? Welcome back. Welcome back. Thank you very much for shooting in, joining a fella here for another one. It's New West Reset Live. Another episode of the live show here, episode 41, as a matter of fact. New West Reset Live, number 41. Coming at you, as always, on a Friday, as a matter of fact. It's in the books. It's in the books. It's official. When you come around here, Friday is now known as Friday. So thank you for kicking off your weekend here with old Frankie. And where are we at? Well, it's Friday, November 24th. 2023, plus 3 degrees on the Celsiatory scale outside. So that's beep, boop, bap, boop, bap. Computing. About 37.3. I don't know. It's around 37, 38-ish Fahrenheit. Not bad considering it's the end of November, and normally it's in the negatives. Below zero, so I'll take it. I'll count my blessings. I'm thankful. And speaking of being thankful, happy Thanksgiving weekend to all my American friends. I think officially, yesterday, Thursday, the 23rd, was Thanksgiving, American Thanksgiving. Be that as it may, happy belated Thanksgiving. You know how to do it right down there, eh? Down in America, you know how to do it right. See, up here we do our Thanksgiving in October, right before Halloween, mid-October. You know, the winter comes earlier here, so the harvest, the grow time for, your cereal grains and corn and wheat, and all that stuff. Then you have a shorter growing season. Harvest time comes earlier. Because basically that's what Thanksgiving is a harvest feast celebration. So, with the snow coming in here, October, November, you got to have everything harvested. Your wheat or your taters or whatever, man. Your corn, your kern, as they say over in Wisconsin and Kansas, kern. We have kern over here. You have what? Sorry? Kern. Oh, you mean corn, eh? Oh, for sure, bud. We have that up here too, eh? But we do our Thanksgiving on, I don't know, it's like the Sunday or the Monday. So we only get a 3-day long weekend. You're smart down there. You do it on the Thursday. So you get a 4-day long weekend. Good on you. I like where your head's at, America. We should have did that back in the day. We should have looked at what you guys were doing and said, we're going to do ours on Wednesday, bud. Okay, buddy? We're going to do ours on Wednesday. So we get like a 5-day weekend up here, eh? Gives us more time to go out and get some maple syrup and some bacon. Run to the beer store, get some cold ones, a couple of barley sandwiches, eh? Anyway, happy Thanksgiving to you. Thanks for spending your long weekend here with me. You got to raise your standards up there, people. I mean, come on. If you're spending your Thanksgiving 4-day long weekend here watching this crazy show, well, then God bless you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Speaking of which, say hello. By the way, if you're watching live, say hello. Jump in the box. Say howdy. Let me know where you're from. I, of course, am coming from Calgary in southwestern Alberta, up here in Canada land, up in Canada-media. You there, buddy? You couldn't tell. Let's see who we got in the box. Eric, Old World Hamster Wheel Cranes, in his house. He's getting some good footage down in Georgia on his channel, by the by. Bill's here. William Pals in the box. Howdy, welcome. Maritz is here, hidden at plain sight from the Netherlands. Stormy in the Netherlands. Oh no. What's going on over there, eh? Rain? Snow? Hail? A mix of rain and snow? Mix of rain and hail. No, that doesn't happen, does it? I don't know. A mix of all three? Yikes. Oh, it's brisk in Georgia. Yeah, but what are you calling brisk there, bud? 70? 65? Fahrenheit? That's not brisk. Okay? +2 Celsius. Now that's brisk. Guy's got to put a scarf on there, eh? Title! Welcome. Title's in the box. Terry Light's here as well. Our old friend Terry. Terry's not old, but she's been a friend of the channel for a while, is what I'm trying to say. I'm not going to ask Terry her age because that's impolite. And us Canadians, we're very polite up here, eh? We're kind of wacky and strange. Speaking of winter, that comes from being cooped up for 5 to 7 months out of the year when it's cold and windy and blowing and ice storming and all that stuff. Yeah, see, Friday. Three fingers in the box. Always good to see three fingers. So yeah, well, what are we doing tonight here? Kind of a part 2 or a part 2. A few streams back, we had a ball here looking at the opening or the intro, the credits, the opening credits to a children's television show up here in Canada land, that I used to watch when I was a little gaffer back in the early to mid 70s there on the television box, called The Friendly Giant. And we were flipping our lids. It was a great show. If you haven't seen it, go back and watch it after this one. It was great. And we started reminiscing about childhood shows from the UK, from down under, from over in Europe, from up in Scandinavia and the Netherlands, all over the place. Compare and contrast American kids shows with Canadian kids shows, so on and so forth. And this Friendly Giant had been on for a long time, but from 1958 to 1985 up here in Canada. I remember telling my dad about that, and he said, "Oh yeah, mother, that show was on when I was a kid." And I said, "You used to watch Friendly Giant when you were a kid too, Dad?" And he said, "No, come on, son, eh? Jeez. We didn't have electricity on the farm till I was a teenager. Give your head a shake there, son." I was like, "Oh yeah, right." He said, "But other kids that I went to school with that lived in town, town folk kids that had that their fancy electricity, they used to watch it." which makes sense, right? My dad was born in 47, so, 10, 11-year-old kids watching. These were simpler times, right? You'd be 12, 13 years old and still watch kid shows back in the 50s and early 60s. Today, kids are too much in a hurry to grow up, I think. But anyways, I got a guy to thinking, right? I got that, that little pea in the mason jar that's a guy's head, right? The pea being the brain matter that rattles around in there. That pea started swirling around in the old mason jar, bouncing off all kinds of ideas. So I thought, you know what, let's do a part 2 of that. Because a lot of the opening of Friendly Giant was very telling. In fact, we'll replay that here in a bit, just as a reminder, and in case you missed it. But I got my mind reeling and a rocking. But other shows that I used to watch as a kid in the 70s, but not children's shows necessarily. Once I got a little older, right? So you get shows that are more family-oriented content shows. The whole family can sit around and watch. Gilligan's Island, Happy Days, that kind of crap, right? So I thought, well, what kind of old world structures, buildings, bridges, what have yous, whatnots, are we going to just see in the opening or closing credits to a lot of these shows back in the 70s? Unfortunately, it's going to be skewed heavily towards American television shows. In the 70s, even up here in Canada, it was kind of like a 60-40, maybe even 75-25, 65-35, somewhere in that neighborhood percentile, skewed towards American content, right? NBC, CBS, ABC. We had a lot of channels up here too, but they would just rebroadcast American shows, especially primetime shows. The CBC, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, which is the government funded by taxpayer dollars, federal, nationwide television station. That one's pretty much exclusively Canadian content. Anyway, long story short, if you're in the UK, you may find this amusing for the fact that you probably have never seen any of these shows before. Also down under. Maybe some places in Asia, these would have been broadcast, in the 50s, 60s, and 70s due to maybe the armed forces presence, in the Philippines and so on and so forth, maybe. And of course, in syndication now, they're all over the realm, all over the planet, the globe. Anyway, in reruns and stuff, and they're dubbed in, languages from like, dozens of countries. So you may have seen some of these shows before. But there's going to be a lot of American shows, Barney Miller, Mary Tyler Moore, 70s American television. In fact, I don't even think there's a Canadian one in the bunch that I can think of. I don't think so. Anyway, so it's good to see all of you here. Team Heat. Howdy, howdy. Team Heat in the box. Welcome. A couple of other folks popping in. Mr. Beast fan. Yeah, Rusty. That's right. Rusty the Rooster and Jerome Giraffe. Hiya, Friendly. Oh, hi, Friendly. Yeah, that's right. Puffin stuff. Yes. You can't do that on television. That was a really great, wacky kids show in the 70s and I think into the 80s. Here up in Canada. Andrea D, our new friend, welcome. Good to see you. Howdy. Thanks for shooting in. John, is it Nada or Nada? I see that as Nada, although I don't speak English, please. I don't speak Spanish. Anyway, Nada could be like, I hear, with They Live, I hear that character's name pronounced Nada. In fact, I think even John Carpenter himself pronounced it Nada. Anyway, John Nada. Hello, welcome. Thanks for shooting in. So what I did was I gathered some clips of opening, like intros, the opening credits of television shows from the 70s. Because much like the Friendly Giant, I think that somehow they're sliding in stuff. Friendly Giant, they were sliding in subtle messages, castles, giants, all that. Again, we'll see that here in a second. Maybe it's just hindsight being 2020, and when a fellow looks back and watches or rewatches or reviews some of these shows from his adolescence or childhood with the eyes that we have in our community, the alternative history research, looking into the fudging of timelines and narratives and so on. Maybe it's just that our eyes are now more finely tuned to spotting old world buildings or bridges again, train stations and what have you, as mentioned. But even as a 9-year-old or I don't know, 11-year-old kid back in the day, you're still absorbing the images, even subconsciously. You might not consciously point at the TV and go, "Hey, mom, hey, dad, look at that cool old building there." And the opening credits to, I don't know, Starsky and Hutch or something. No, you're distracted by the cool car. The bright red with the white swoosh, pre-Nike. Starsky and Hutch, what was that, Gran Torino? All souped up. As an adolescent boy, you see that car, you don't notice the old world buildings in the background. Of course, a lot of it has to do with where a lot of these television shows in the 70s were filmed, right? Because a lot of them were like gritty cop shows or legal dramas or, fire department / police department / hospital shows were big in the 70s. So they're filmed in, Boston and New York and Philly and stuff like that, right? So maybe it's where they were filmed. But anyways, I jumped back. I pulled a bunch of opening and or closing credits to shows. And I thought we would just kind of go through them. And I'll just pause them and we can have a look at what's going on in the background. Try not get distracted by Lonnie Anderson and the WKRP in Cincinnati intro. Emergency. Yes, emergency. Oh, yeah, so many of those shows in the 70s were filmed in Chi-Town. Shout out to the Windy City. Gran Torino. Tasty, yeah. Oh, yeah, come on. Delicious. Delicious automobile. Back when automobiles were still automobiles. Back when cars were still cars. American muscle. Come on now. American muscle now, eh? Ford, Chevy, Dodge, I don't care. Great cars. I'm kind of more of a GM / Chevy guy, but I wouldn't turn my nose up at a Ford Galaxy or a Ford Gran Torino or any of them 70s Mopars, Challengers and the Chargers and the Dusters, the Darts. Come on. Come on. Yeah, you got to love a land yacht. You get in a head-on collision with a city bus, you just walk away and brush yourself off. Oh, what was that? I think I got bumped. I got bumped a bit or something. Try that in a Prius. Right, Howie? Howard Harrison in the box. Thanks for shooting in, Howie. Good to see you. Oh, Yellow Mercury. I like how you don't really, it's funny, Andrew. You don't really need to, when we're talking 60s and 70s, you don't really need to specify huge and Mercury in the same sentence. You're talking 60s or 70s Mercury, even an 80s Mercury. You could just say, yeah, the Yellow Mercury. We'd be like, yeah, that thing was huge, I bet. Just going to have a sip of my coffee here. Cheers to you. Oh, it's good. Don't you hate that? When you're sitting at the donut shop next to that guy, slurping his coffee and or tea like that. You're just trying to eat your jelly donut. And some guys. Oh, That is good. Fresh vanilla. Buddy, give it a rest. Anyway. Oh, sirens in the background. Fire trucks going by. Uh-oh. Let me try something here. No, it's not my building, so we can continue the broadcast. By the way, speaking of broadcast, simultaneously broadcasting live over on the fighting platform over there at the Rumble. So welcome to all my friends over on Rumble. Thanks for shooting in, joining the guy here. New West Reset Live, number 41. The Old World on 70's TV. Or telly, if you're in the UK and you prefer telly. Maggot's here. Howdy, howdy, Maggot. Logan Rothbrod's in the box. 79 Monte Carlo, eh? Yeah, Frankie's on. Fire truck out. Yeah, I hope somebody's house isn't burning down. That'd be brutal. Wow, really? 100K for a Chevelle? Well, if it's a super sport and it's one of the most desirable years, you know, the 73, 74 Chevelle Super Sport, and if it's an American car, you know, there's not a lot of them down over there's. See what I'm saying? Pretty sure, you know, different models and different badging in different countries, right? So GM could make cars in the UK or down under, but it wouldn't be the Chevrolet Chevelle. It would have a weird name like the Chevrolet what's-a-who's it? What's a gidget? The Chevrolet what's-a-gids it? Down under there. Sorry, I'm not making fun of you. Make fun of myself the way I speak. Canadians, we have two official languages up here, English and French, and I can barely speak either one, so that'll tell you something. Yeah, numbers matching SS Super Sport model. Yeah, man, especially if it's you know one of those, if it's a Chevelle, even a Nova, an Impala. Those were great cars, and then you get into Fords. You get the Mustangs and come on, man, just beautiful cars. Right? They just, again, they don't make them like that anymore. Sometimes they do a decent job with the retro relaunching, right? They've got the few years back, the Firebird and what else have they done? The Charger, and they're modern, but they sort of look like the old classic versions too. It's got that retro feel or flavor to it, Okay, look at the new Beetle, the new Volkswagen. It's not so new now. The retro relaunch of the Beetle. It's been like 25 years already, or 30 years. I don't even know. When did they kick that thing out again? The 90s, the 2000s. Anyway, much like the version from the 50s through to the 70s, you're gonna spot that thing a mile away. It's a Beetle. Didn't matter if it was yellow, pink, white, orange. Didn't matter if it was a 58 or a 68. There's a Volkswagen Beetle right there. Punch buggy, whatever, right? And the new ones, you could spot them a mile away. That's a Beetle. That's a Volkswagen Beetle. Even though the engine's in the front now, which is so weird. A Beetle with the engine in the front, you say. All right. Doesn't have that distinct Jetsons cartoon Volkswagen Beetle exhaust sound. It doesn't have that. But, it still looks like a Beetle. Oh, Mr. Beast fan in Ontario there, eh, bot? Oh, that's beauty out there, eh? Out in the Great Lakes region there, eh, bot? Are you up in Northern Ontario? or are you in southern Ontario, in and around Toronto, Ontario, the T dot? Yeah, computers. That's right. If you're a shade tree mechanic and you want to just give your car a tune-up, ah, basically since what, late 80s, early 90s, they put the little computer chip in your car. You disconnect anything to do it yourself, the chip shuts your whole engine down. And then even if you fix whatever it was, changing the fuel pump or the ignition coils, or even just tuning it up, just putting in some new spark plugs and spark plug wires, checking your points, whatever, right? Shut it down. And you got to take it to a dealership and they hook it up to the who's or what's it machine. Yeah. That's why I like those 70s cars. Well, 40s through 70s, even early 80s. You can tinker around with it yourself. Go to the scrapyard, get a new fuel pump, whatever. Get a new starter relay, whatever it is you need, man. Oh, the U-joint's gone. Let's see what I can find in the scrapyard, especially with GM, like a 72 Impala. You could take it out of a 1978 pickup truck and it'll fit. As long as it's the same drivetrain, same engine size, you're good. It's ridiculous. But these days, yeah, I think even some cars, you change the oil yourself, will take you all day. You can't just, jack it up and put some blocks under it and then just, crawl under there on your back on the gravelly driveway on a piece of cardboard with an old pot to catch the oil in, with like 3 tools, right? You need, whatever size wrench, 3/4 inch or 1/2 inch to get the drain plug. You need your strap wrench to get your oil filter out. And probably a hammer just to kind of bang on things and loosen stuff up a little bit. Maybe some WD-40 to squirt in there, right? Loosen up, get things loose, get that oil filter loosened up a bit. That's all you needed. Maybe, if you were like me, Dad would do it when he would come home from work and it would be dark. So he'd make me crawl under with him, shivering in the night cold, hold the flashlight for him so he could do it, yelling at me, "Hold that flashlight still, will you? Hold it still, son. Jesus Christ, hold it still. Dad, this is fun. I'm having fun you showing me how to change oil by screaming in my face in the dark to hold the flashlight still." Dad, I'm 12. Shouldn't I be indoors doing my homework right now? Like when a kid's asking to go inside and do homework. But in hindsight, I'm glad Dad made me crawl under the cars with him as a kid so he could show me how to do stuff. Because when I did still drive, I mostly drove 1970s vehicles. 76 Grand Prix. I had a 72 Impala. I had an old Chevy Biscayne from the late 50s. I had a late 60s, what was that, a Maverick. I had a couple of Pontiacs. Yeah. 70s cars, man. 70s cars. Cheap and easy to maintain. The worst part is the fuel, which is why I just don't even drive at all anymore. I live in Alberta. Stuff's just bubbling up out of the ground. There's no way that we should be paying like $1.50 a liter for fuel. It's like in Texas. Same thing. Why do they pay so much for gas in Texas? Doesn't make any sense to me. We make it there. We make oil and gas and natural gas right here in Alberta. So it's gotten too expensive. Even to maintain an old car is cheap, but to fuel it is expensive. To maintain a newer car is a little cheaper, especially if it's under warranty. It's just as expensive to fuel it. So I hoof it or I bike or I take transit. Once in a while I get a Lyft or an Uber, and Bob's your uncle. Oh, Mr. Beast, my dad had a 78 Monte. Oh, it had the swivel, yeah, the swivel seats. I think the front, the passenger and driver's side seats, yeah, they would swivel. Yeah, yeah, man, classy. It's cool stuff back in the day with cars, man. Suicide doors on the old Lincoln Continental, the rumble seats in the old Ford Roadsters, swivel seats. Uh, Chevy's doing their hardtop convertibles on their two doors in the 70s. That's the awesome stuff, man. Awesome stuff. Anyway, thanks for once again shooting in and joining again. We've been blabbing on for half an hour already. Let's get the show on the road. What do you say? By the way, links for everything in the description box below here for Rumble and BitChute, MeWe, and of course you can get in touch with me my email as well. So if you have any ideas for the show or anything you want me to have a look at, I try to keep her Canadian now there though, Bot? You know, just I try to. I'm a Canadian. I try to keep her Canadian content if and when a fella can, but not exclusively. Just like Maritz over at Hidden in Plain Sight. Not 100% Netherlands. It's not all Dutch content. A lot of it is. That's her thing. I'm not 100% Canadian with my content, but mostly. Mostly. Joe Cool in the box. Howdy, Joe. Joe Cool. Hey, Joe. Take old vehicles any day. Twice on Sunday. Yeah, updated versions. Yeah. Yeah. There's a few exceptions, right? Some of those retro chic cars, the newer cars that are made to look retro. You know, there was the PT Cruiser. There was a Chevy pickup truck also that was very retro. I can't remember what that thing was called, but it looked cool. Had a rounded grill and round headlights, and that just looked neat. Rounded front fenders and all that stuff. You know, again, the Challengers and the Chargers are coming back, and the Firebirds and all that. And they sort of look like they did in the 70s. With slightly, softer edges and stuff, for, wind resistance and, I should say, aerodynamics, I should say, and all that. But yeah. Anyways, old world on 70s TV. And again, this all kicked off the idea of the Friendly Giant from a few weeks back. So let's see what we can spot in some clips from some opening and closing intros, credits kind of thing. Some 70s television shows. Again, mostly from the US. I think all of them are. But that's far enough back now that most people maybe have seen reruns. But maybe we'll start it off with kind of what kicked off the whole thing to begin with, which was the Friendly Giant. Because I think that is, again, that's what got the whole schmozzle rolling here. Now, this is a later episode, but this episode of Friendly Giant. He's talking about he went to the museum. He went into town because he's a giant, you see, who lives in a castle over a village. So there's a village and a town. Town, village, or city, village, and then some farmland, and then up on the hill in a castle, the Friendly Giant lives. So he's talking about, in the intro, he's talking about going into the city to go to the museum because there's exhibits from 300 years ago, 200 years ago, 100 years ago, and then it goes into the whole intro. So this was the catalyst for the whole thing.
CBC, British Columbia.
One shows how things were 100 years ago, and another shows how things were 200 years ago, and a third how things were 300 years ago. And it was interesting to see the difference. The things that were around 1 and 2 and 300 years ago. Old things are interesting. There's that big old boot. Now look up, way up, and we're on our way to the castle. I'll hurry over first and go in the back door so I can let the drawbridge down and open the big front doors for you. Are you ready? Here's my castle.
All right. So again, as I was mentioning, you can see here what he was talking about with the museum exhibits and so on. And then it goes into his intro. Now, if you've never seen this before, this is a children's show that ran from 1958 to 1985 up here in Canada. So this is one of the later episodes. Anyway, we'll let this intro run, and then we'll have a look at some more primetime television shows and see what we can spot in the background of those shows. See if we can find any castles on those. By the way, I love the whole song and dance with the whole castle reveal and the drawbridge and the camera slowly pans in. It's very dramatic, and of course, as a little kid, to me, anyways, this was fascinating. Like, ooh, there's the giant's castle. Not at all thinking about, it's a giant who lives in this village and he's talking about stuff from 300 years ago.
We are inside. Here's one little chair for one of you and a bigger chair for two more to curl up in. For someone who likes to rock, a rocking chair in the middle. There. Now, look up. Way up. And I'll call Rusty. Rusty?
Hi.
Hi, Rusty.
Hi, friendly.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you today?
Good, good.
Where have you been? What have you seen or thought about or anything? You've been somewhere.
I've been to the city.
You've been to the city?
And I
oh.
went to the museum.
The museum?
To a new display they have.
A display in the museum.
Things 100 years old, things 200 years old, and things 300 years old.
Oh, boy.
It just showed how life was lived.
Uh-huh.
The rooster cracks me up. Oh, boy. Yes, he keeps his pet rooster in a sack nailed to the wall. Poor rooster. Anyway.
100 years ago, 200 years ago, and 300 years ago, and there were differences and changes in the clothes people wore and the toys people played with, the tools they worked with. But all of it was what we would say are old things.
Yeah.
Old things.
Old things are very interesting.
Antiques.
Yes, that's right. Old things are very interesting. That is absolutely correct. So, of course, you could see as an adult now, looking back, with hindsight, yeah, it's mind blowing, right? There's a giant who lives in this castle, as I said, on this hill or mountain above this little village, and it's setting up the little tiny chairs in front of the little fireplace. It's I sort of wonder at the time on that live stream when we were kind of doing a deep dive on Friendly Giant. I was wondering, well, it's not predictive programming, right? Because they want to hide our past. They lie about our past. They lie about the fact that there were giants. They lie about the fact that a lot of structures that they tell us are already old are most likely much older than the official story is. What they tell us is the age of these old buildings, right? Whether it be a church or cathedral, an old post office, an old state capitol building, whatever the case may be, right? So it's not predictive programming. It's more like they're sliding a little bit of truth in, but it's kind of on the down low. It's kind of on the hush hush, right? That's the only thing I can think of. So, I mean, Again, that's a kid's show. Let's have a look at some something that's skewed more a little bit towards, well, this maybe is more adolescent kid, not quite an adult. But this one, I mean, as soon as I looked it up, because I was, to do the research, I was, doing a lot of kicking back, close my eyes and trying to remember what I watched as a kid, when I was 6, when I was 10, when I was 12. Stuff that was on in the 70s, BJ and the Bear, Happy Days, and then just looking up what the intros and the outros were for these shows. And some of them are more adolescents and some are, adult shows, right? Like Kojak or whatever. Anyways, this one more of a adolescent, not quite little kids, but I should have known right away. It's the old live action Amazing Spider-Man show. So of course it takes place in New York City. By the way, I hope Disney/Marvel doesn't pinch a guy for showing Spider-Man here on the interwebs there on the show. Yeah, okay. The show. Oh, wait, what was that? Let's bring it back a bit. I guess that's supposed to be the Daily Bugle. Kind of an interesting Art Deco looking building there. Oh, Spider-Man climbing up. What is that? The Empire State Building? Dig that music too. Still shot. Yeah, so let's have a look here and see. Yeah, there's definitely down old world stuff. New York is still, they're pretty lucky. There's still quite a bit of the old world. Not just in Manhattan too, but in some of the boroughs as well. Yeah, I'm seeing some there in the background as well. Yeah. All right, let's see what else we can have a peek at. That one's not too bad. Again, some of they go by real quick, a lot of these, obviously, right? 30-second intros, 60-second intros. Yeah, the music does sound a bit like Soul Train. I used to watch that too, actually. Soul Train, American Bandstand. Internet person. Hey, good to see you. Howdy, welcome. Internet person in the box. All right, next here. Nope, sorry. Let's see. Oh, come on. This is where the thumbnail's from, I think. This was a great show. Happy Days, not so much. Oh, right out of the gates, we're seeing sort of what do they call those? Like the brownstone style walk-ups. Then underneath those stairs, there's sort of an arch, half-exposed arch. This brick building there with some limestone, perhaps, under those big windows. And then basically, the stairs go up into a big, huge, looks to be an arched limestone entranceway there with a light fixture. But then there's a gate with a little fence, so there's actually an entrance down underneath. I'm guessing lower apartments underneath. Hey, there he is. My buddy Vincent. Brownstones are all brick under. Yeah, I think so. At least from what I can tell. By the way, I put a poll up last week, and kind of kicking around the idea of, hey, what should Vincent's nickname be? You know, because I got that whole Frankie Fingers thing going on, and you know, so I decided maybe I'd put a poll on about it. So what you're saying is Frankie Fingers is New West Reset? Frankie Fingers is New West Reset. I don't understand. Okay, I've been trying to tell you. Frankie Fingers is New West Reset. New West Reset is Frankie Fingers. So it's the same guy. Yes, it's the same guy, Mutt. What do you think? I've been trying to tell you. Frankie Fingers, New West Reset. Frankie Fingers, New West Reset. Okay? All right, I got it. Jeez. So, Tommy, where have you been, huh? I've been watching New West Reset. Huh? Well, you know, it's New West Reset. It's this thing on YouTube. He goes around, he does his boots on the ground thing. They'll tell you.
Say you care.
Anyway, got that whole Frankie Fingers thing going on. I was given the nickname like, I don't know, a year and a half ago now or something. Bunch of my earliest subscribers, you wacky bunch of knuckleheads out there, started calling me Frankie Fingers. And it kind of stuck. And to me, it always sounded like a mobster name. You know, that Alberta Mafia. There's no such thing. But anyway. And by coincidence, a good friend of mine, Vincent. So I thought I'd come up with a good nickname for Vincent. He's actually with me on a lot of my boots on the ground videos. You know, we'll go meet up, we'll have a coffee, and then we'll look around at some old buildings, we'll shoot some footage, then we'll grab a lunch, you know, hang out, shoot the shit, a couple of buddies talking about stuff. So I put up a poll. What should Vincent's nickname be? You know, just kind of messing around. You know, and I gave a few, where is it? I'm even just trying to pull it up here just to have a peekaboo thing. And I gave a couple of options. Where's the darn thing now? There it is. So the options were Eagle Eye Vinny, because like I said, he's often with me, right? And he spots stuff. Hey, look at those windows, Frankie. Hey, Frankie, you should see around the back of this building. Hey, Frankie, did you notice the top, very tip top of that cupola is missing? So I thought of Eagle Eye Vinny. The other one was Vincent the Hawk, again, because he's got eyes like a hawk. Vinny gift cards. It's kind of a private joke, really, but he's always showing up with gift cards to try to pay for lunch all the time or to buy coffee. Hey, Frankie, I get these Starbucks gift cards. They're burning a hole in my pocket. There's no Starbucks anywhere near where I live. Let me get your coffee for you at least, right? Cousin Vinny. And then I left a fifth option where people could leave a comment with their suggestions. And a couple of suggestions were St. Vincent the Tall. Yes, he is very tall. Well, you know, tall. He's tall. Not very tall, but tall. Vinny the Who, and of course, Vincenzo. But an overwhelming majority of the people voted chose Cousin Vinny, which makes perfect sense. Again, with the whole Joe Pesci thing playing on that, and the My Cousin Vinny, Joe Pesci, Vincent, Vinny. So Cousin Vinny, boom. So there you go, Vincent. Henceforth, thou shalt be known as Cousin Vinny. I anoint thee. I don't have a sword to touch on your shoulders, which always seemed dangerous to me. Like the queen is usually doing it, or some old monarch, and they get shaky when they get old, right? And then they're coming at you with a sword and lop a guy's ear off doing that. I don't know. I've got my cigarette lighter with the Montreal Canadiens logo on it. Here we go. I dubbed thee Cousin Vinny. Rise and be recognized, Cousin Vinny. Hey, how you doing over here, eh? Your Honor, the two youths. Mr. Gambini. Mr. Gambini. Yes, Your Honor? What's a youth? Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize, Your Honor. The two youths. Anyway. There you go. So thanks to everybody who voted and partaking in my shenanigans. Appreciate that. There you go. There it is. Fantastic. Hey, but you gotta have fun around here once in a while, messing around with this stuff. Oh yeah, Viewmaster Vincent. Sure, yeah, there you go. He does have good eyes. He's got an excellent eye. It's like, yeah, that building, those windows down there, they don't look right. Why would you do that? Look at all the snow up against those ones. And I know, Vin. I know. It's crazy. Anyway.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, Schlemiel, Schlemazel, Haas Incorporated.
Boom, there it is. There's the thumbnail. Look at that. Up here in Canada, that's what we would refer to as a beauty. That's a beauty there, eh? She's a beaut. An absolute beaut. I mean, right out of the gates, what are we, like 4 seconds into the opening? The opening of Laverne and Shirley, and bam, they give us this delight. Mwah, beautiful. Of course, people that live in Milwaukee or are familiar with Milwaukee or Wisconsin in general, this might be like, yeah, so what, Frankie? I see it every day when I'm stuck in rush hour traffic. Shut up. But to a kid up here in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, there, eh, buddy? That's nice. It's real nice.
We're gonna do it. Give us.
By the way, Laverne and Shirley live in what my parents also used to live in when they right after they first got married, before they bought the house. First 5 years, from the time I was born till I was a fiver, we lived in what was called a semi-basement. Basically, the ground floor is you go down 6 stairs once you come inside the building. That's what it was. And that looks to me like what Laverne and Shirley. Looks to me like what Laverne and Shirley's humble abode is.
Any chance we'll
Then they
take
go
it.
up the step,
You
go
say
out the door, and then
you
if they
will
remember
break
correctly,
it.
they go
We're
upstairs.
gonna make our dreams come true. Doing it our way. Nothing's gonna turn us back now. Straight ahead and on the track now. We're gonna make our dreams come true. Doing it our way. There is nothing we won't try.
Yeah.
Never heard the word impossible. This.
When you go back and you watch old episodes of Happy Days, they kind of suck. But Laverne and Shirley, I think, even though it was a spin-off, was the superior show. And while it doesn't necessarily hold up today, it's still a much better and funnier show today than Happy Days is today. At least in my opinion. And hey, as an 8-year-old boy, I thought the Fonz, of course, was the coolest thing on the planet. But still, Laverne and Shirley was just the superior show. It was funnier, at least to me.
Time, there's no stopping us.
Plus, as a Canadian, I have to admire the fact that Laverne and Shirley are making beer for a living. Good on you, ladies. That's a beauty. That's a calling, is what that is. That's a beauty there, eh? Working, making barley sandwiches. Oh yeah, Lenny and Squiggy. Yeah, for sure. Howdy, Ancient One, by the way. Ancient One in the box. Thanks for shooting in. Speaking of old friends, old world, Mi'kmaq in the box. Good to see you, brother. Welcome. Yeah, beer castles. It's very. Terry's hilarious. If you hadn't noticed, Terry is hilarious.
Got a dream and we just know now we're gonna make that dream come true, and we'll do it our way, yes, our way. Make our dreams come true, and we'll do it our way, yes, our way. Make our dreams come true for me and you.
Just a great opening and a great show. Very catchy tune, of course. Lavoine and Shoily, Liddy, Squiggy, Carmine. Wasn't that Shirley's boyfriend there after a while? Carmine. But yes, many Wisconsinites speak like Canadian. A little bit there, eh? Same as in North Dakota, a little bit there. I've noticed that as well. Also in Minnesota, very, very similar. Maine, although Maine has a little bit more of that New England sound. These borders are arbitrary lines on maps. I mean, aside from the border patrol, border crossings with the guys with guns and stuff. But leave that aside. All right. Laverne and Shirley. Great show. Oh, geez. I remember this show, too. This was also a great show.
From Television City in Hollywood.
Boom! Again, right out of the gates. Look at those buttes in the background. Just to the left of that modern skyscraper, right, beautifully framing the either side of the Good Times logo there. Delicious. Yes, Taxi. The intro, I looked that up. The intro for Taxi, you can't really see much because it's basically the taxi driving over that bridge for the entire intro. I mean, you see some of the Ease buildings in the background. You see, the New York skyline in the background, but it's like quite far off. The river's basically almost in the foreground, and then the bridge takes up the shot. So, yeah, but that was a great show, though. Taxi was terrific show. Christopher Lloyd, come on. Hey, Alex. Hi, Reverend Jim.
Good time you meet a friend. Good time. Anytime you're out from under. Not getting hassled, not getting hustled.
Yeah, not getting hassled and not getting hustled. Kind of moving to the tenements there a little bit, but rolled it back just a bit there. Yeah, some nice looking stuff. It's 70's TV, so you have to excuse the graininess there, people. But,
Getting hassled, not getting hustled. Keeping your head above water. Making a way when you can.
Temporary layoff.
Oh, look at that bridge. Look at those beauties in the background. See, but as a kid watching this, I didn't notice this. At this point when the rolling credits were, I was, getting comfortable, get in front of the TV, right? Maybe throw some cushions and pillows on the floor in front of the TV, because as a kid I had a terrible habit of sitting as close to the screen as I possibly could. It was one of those old TVs, right? The big cabinet TVs that were on the floor that was like a piece of furniture, big massive dials on it. And ours had doors that would open, and then the television was built into that, right? It was beautiful, carved wood and all that. But I'd sit like 2 feet in front of that thing, and my old man or my mom would be like, come on, Frankie, get it. Sit on the sofa, will you? Will you get on the couch? Get on the Chesterfield, eh?
Good times, easy credit rip-offs. Good times,
Scratching and surviving.
good times.
Oh, look at that right there, right next to Jimmy J.J. Walker Dynamite's name right there. Lovely. I didn't notice that when I was a 7-year-old kid.
Hanging in a jar. Good
There
times. If we lucky, we got 'em.
it is.
Good times. Good times.
Anytime you need a payment.
Good times. Anytime you meet a friend. Good times.
They're showing you see the kind of the neutral orange.
Not getting
Less
held
buildings,
up, not getting
more
messed
shenanigans
up,
from the
keeping
past.
your head above water, making a way when you can.
Temporary layoffs.
Good times, easy credit
Show more
rip-offs.
of that kid that knows dynamite.
Scratching and surviving.
Good times, hanging in a jar. Good times, if we lucky, we got 'em.
All right, let's see what else we got here. Yeah, pretty much same old from there on in. Yeah. Oh. It's the closing credits. Yes, the closing credits. Let's see what's going on.
Good times, keeping your head above water, making a way when you can.
Temporary layoffs.
Good times, easy credit rip-offs.
Oh, there we go. Right in behind the L. Big, tall windows. Big, huge, tall entrance or doorway on that thing. Lovely. Very nice. Big, too.
Good times, if we lucky, we got 'em.
There it is again. Yeah, nice. I don't know what that is, but it's a beauty.
Good times.
Good times. Dynamite. That was a great show. You can see after a while they try to make the intro more peppy, more snappy. That you don't have to show so many cityscapes. People get the idea. Let's show some clips of the folks in the show, characters in the show. That's what people want to see. Chicago. Yeah. Small world. Chilaga. Yeah, that's right. Old world Mi'kmaq will always remind people, yes, don't forget Chilaga. He knows because he's of the oldest nation here in the quote unquote new world, the Mi'kmaq people. Over in over there in New Scotland, there in Nova Scotia, up in Maine, a little bit over in Newfoundland there too, by Large Thunder over there in the Newfoundland there. Hell, these people probably lived there, crying out loud. Headley, man, BC in the box. Oh, good day. How's she going there, bud? Good to see you. Thank you very much for shooting in. Tartarian Prague Rocker. Oh, yeah. Yeah, Vince, Cousin Vinny. Hey, how you doing? Cousin Vinny lived in Boston. Yeah. Boston. Near the gardens there by the car park. Sorry. Make America Green Again. Welcome. Your audio on the clips is set so loud, I find I'm turning down the volume. But then when your voice audio backtrack comes back on, I'm readjusting the volume up just to hear you. Please find an Igakliblin. Don't know what that is, but okay. Please find an angle to herp. I'm sorry, I have no idea. But yeah, I know it's. I actually nicked these clips off of the YouTube, and then used one of those magical, them websites that you can. They fell off the back of a pirate ship. Let's say that. So yeah, pack the cat in a cat pack. It's terrible. It's the worst Bostonian accent ever. I like to try to do voices and accents, but I suck. Anyway, let's see what I remember watching this show. This show in Quincy. I checked out Quincy. Not much going on in the background for Quincy. This one, you got to have a bit of a quick eye. Kind of like that Spider-Man one. You got to have a quick eye. But I used to rush. I'd run like Forrest Gump to watch this show when I was a kid. Who loves you, baby? Mm-hmm. Delicious. All around Telly Savalas's big, beautiful, bald head. Look at that. Magnificent. And wasn't this a damn good show, by the way? Kojak. Damn, that was a good show. Yep. Nice. Real nice. Obviously, very, very familiar city skylines and cityscapes, but the fact that a lot of these intros are from shows from roughly 74-ish to 79. At least these clips and these intros. Some of these shows ran into the 80s, but a lot of these buildings aren't there anymore, or obscured by newer skyscrapers or what have you. There you go. Good old Quincy sucks. Quincy still has my heart. So you gotta be able to try to appeal to everyone. It's next to impossible. Because I know that when I said that Happy Days sucked, in hindsight, I know there was probably some people that were like, what the hell you say? Just checking up with the with the chat here. Yeah. TPR says, I wish I was the guy selling concrete and red bricks in 1895. Yeah, don't you wish you what is that movie? Time Cop? It's kind of a half decent Jean-Claude Van Damme movie where he's like a time travel police guy. And there's some guy that's going back and forth in time and scamming and investing in the stock markets and all this stuff, right? Sometimes I like to play the time travel fantasy game. And, if I could go back to any time, when would it be? And yeah, a guy could definitely make some money hand over fist if you went back to the 1890s and opened up a brick factory. We supply brick and mortar to all the construction companies and subcontractors, especially, the building boom of the 1920s in the US and up here in Canada too there, eh, bud? Woo! Be making those Canadian pesos and those American greenbacks. Wow, Bonzi must have been from BC. Eh. Let's see what we've got coming up next here. Is the Kojak. Oh, come on. This was a good show, too.
Weather today in the greater Cincinnati area.
And boom, again, like 3 seconds in. 3 seconds in. And there it is. Magnificent old building.
They're solid plastic.
There it is again. And then that other big, tall one there. That's sort of, I'm sorry, I don't know. I'm not familiar with these, I'm way over here in Calgary, Alberta, cowboy land, so I'm not familiar with some of these buildings. We can get that sort of cream colored or whitish looking one. And then that tall sort of sandstone colored one. Nice. Really nice.
So don't settle for imitation.
But the senator, while insisting he was not.
So don't settle for imitation.
Oh.
But the
Those two identical Volkswagen Beetles, same color, year, model, driving next to each other down the freeway.
senator, while insisting he was not intoxicated, could not
Never noticed that before. Hey, there's a Chevy Impala right behind them. Nice.
explain his nudity.
If you've ever wondered.
Look at that beautiful fountain. The gorgeous statue on it. Very nice.
Whatever became of me.
Lovely. We don't really have anything like that in Calgary anymore. We used to. We used to have a beautiful exhibition grounds with a park, and it had a lovely fountain like that. We do have Central Memorial Park that does have an older fountain, I think from the 20s, but it's not elaborate like this with the statue and everything. Oh, geez. Tartarian Prog Rocker says, my mom just passed last weekend. Lots of trips into Boston, Mass General Hospital. We would watch John Levi vids together while waiting for her chemo treatments. She knew Tartaria was real. I'm terribly sorry to hear that, TPR. That's terrible. Yeah, God bless her. And yeah, that's a rough go. My dad was fighting with the Big C. He luckily won the fight, caught it early enough. But yeah, that's rough. At least you got to spend some time with her doing things that, things that you were both mutually enjoyed, as opposed to you being way off in another city or another part of the world and not being able to see her. And there's always those regrets, right?
I'm living on the air in Cincinnati. Cincinnati, WKRP. Got kind of tired of packing and unpacking.
Look at that. What's the name of that bridge? That's beautiful. The domes on top like that. Come on, man. It's lovely.
Town to town, up and down the dial. Maybe you and me were never to be. Just maybe think of me once.
Like right there in the sort of foreground, that short little beige building with the big tall windows, and then it's got that sort of fancy brickwork design running along the roof line there above the windows. See some cupolas and that there as well. Neat.
In a while, I'm
It's that big thing in the back. Must be a sports arena or stadium or something. Again, forgive my Canadian ignorance of Cincinnati, Ohio.
WKRP in Cincinnati.
I think we have another intro too, yeah.
If you've ever
Yeah, I think this is just an update.
wondered what
Yes.
ever became of me. I'm living on the air in Cincinnati. Cincinnati, WKRP.
That's right there, yeah. Les Nessman and the turkey, yes. Yeah, speaking of Thanksgiving and turkeys, yeah. That's right, where they were doing a radio station promotion and they were throwing turkeys out of the traffic helicopter or some helicopter for the radio station to promote the station and to give away, I don't know, turkeys to the less fortunate or something at the same time. Yeah, it was a win-win. And they thought turkeys could fly. I mean, they sort of can fly, but not when you chuck them out of a chopper. Yeah, I remember that. Yeesh.
Got kind of tired packing and unpacking, town to town, up and down the dial. Maybe you and me were never meant to be. Just maybe think of me once in a while. I'm at WKRP in Cincinnati. Baby, if you've ever wondered.
Yeah, I think this is the same intro. Yeah, it looks to be. I think this one's the same. Oh no, they added. Oh, there's a brick house. She's a brick house. Sorry, that's very sexist, and I know it must be shocking coming from what's supposed to be a very socially conscious, politically correct Canadian and all. But come on, what 9-year-old boy didn't have a crush on Lonnie Anderson and Bailey, the other lady from that show? She was good too. You know, the station programming director assistant or something. I can't remember what she did. Maybe she was in charge of marketing or advertising or something. Or something like that. Let me cue up the next one here. And, be right back. All right, let me pause it and just bring it back here for a second. Because this one too, like right out of the gates, right? Like it's just like 3 seconds. 3 seconds into the thing, and we see this St. Eligius. By the way, my brother just got home, and I had made some coconut shrimp, some stir-fried vegetables, and some rice. So I quickly ran out to let him know, hey, help yourself, man. Help yourself. Don't be shy, bro. Have yourself a little bit of some rice, some stir-fried veg, and some coconut shrimp. See, the advantages of working at a grocery store, the shrimp, the fresh shrimp were on sale. So I can pick up some fresh shrimp, take the tails off, devein them, boom. Stir fry them up with some onion and some garlic and some hot chilies, a little bit of coconut milk. Delicious. Anyway, get back to this. Saint Elsewhere, by the way, yeah. Look at this thing. I mean, it's beautiful in black and white, but once they pop it into color, it looks like a gingerbread cake or a gingerbread house or something. It's beautiful. Obviously a real hospital. Look at that thing. The beauty. Okay, now we can skip past all of these bozos. Yeah, I was going to say, I think I remember right underneath the train. Yeah, just in the background. A couple of nice, smaller old world buildings there in the background. Internet person says, way to go, Frankie. The theme song for WKRP always makes me cry. I don't know why. It's because you're a sweetheart. That's why. I previewed the intro to The Littlest Hobo, that Canadian version of Lassie that I used to watch as a kid. I talked about it on the Friendly Giant live stream. But I thought, well, wait a sec, The Littlest Hobo, because I checked out some Canadian shows, right? King of Kensington, Beachcombers, Littlest Hobo. Because I thought, well, the Littlest Hobo, he's going from town to town, city to city. This dog, right? So there's got to be, but there wasn't. But that song, that always gets me. I always get a lump in my throat from that one. It's the lyrics. The lyrics are lovely. So yeah, right here under that under the L there, you can see arched windows and not big, huge buildings, but definitely lovely old world buildings there in the background. Park-like setting there, sort of in the foreground. Pans back to the hospital. Yeah. It's pretty low windows there on the quote unquote ground floor of that place, maybe, potentially. Beautiful entrance with big columns or pillars. Just noticing that fountain, too. So yes, Saint Elsewhere. It's kind of like ER before ER, I guess, for lack of a better turn of phrase. So how's everybody doing in the box? Andrea D. Wow. Yeah. Wow. I know. Bill says, supper sounds good there too. Yeah, well, it's gotta look after your bro. A lot of times, if he gets home before me, he's, we each cook our own meals for ourselves, but we always cook enough to have leftovers or share. You want to share, man. Yeah, no kidding. How many were used in that thing, right? Yeah, you can always tell an older city by the narrative or an older part of the city. That's how I kind of find, well, I don't know. I guess that's one of the things that I use to help me find the oldest parts of Calgary for me to do my boots on the ground videos. Is, you look for the bigger, older, more mature trees, the trees that are 100, 150 years old instead of, the 50, 60, 80-year-old trees. Plus, I know my city well. I know Calgary well by the narrative, and I heel toe it all over the place. I live close to downtown, and most of the older parts of the city are in and around the downtown core-ish. Mostly. But it's a great way to tell. The big, huge trees. All right, so let's see what's next here. After the Sing Elsewhere. Got a couple more. What do you say we been going on for just about an hour and a half? What do we say we take a quick break? I'll give you a sneak peek at your midweek coming up. The vintage footage video coming up for this coming Wednesday, which I believe is old steam train video. I think this is Rocky Mountain Railway down there in Colorado, I believe, perhaps, maybe. Anyway, it's about 2 minutes and a titch, two and a titch. And we'll come back, check in on, see how everybody's doing in the box, in the chat, and then we'll wrap it up with looking at a couple more of these 70s TV shows and see what we can spot from the old world in the background. So yeah, let me see here. Let me queue up. This is yes, this is Great Northern Steam. So this will be your midweek coming up on Wednesday next week. All right. We are back. Hello. Welcome back. Thanks once again for shooting in, joining a guy here for another live stream. Yours truly, Frankie, coming at you here. New West Reset Live, episode 41. The old world on 70s television. On the boob tube, as my dad used to call it. Or the idiot box, as my granddaddy used to call it. Thank you very, very much for joining me here, kicking off your weekend, or maybe you're part way through a 4-day American Thanksgiving long weekend. If so, happy Thanksgiving to you down there. Belated. Happy Thanksgiving. If not, well, if it's just a regular weekend, well, shucks. Thanks for kicking it off with yours truly. Appreciate it. It's Friday. Mr. Beast Fan is here, as well as our pal Bill. That's William Powell's, you see. Get it? Pal Bill? Sorry, it's terrible. Tartarian prog rocker and neutral mass in the box. Welcome. Terry Lights here, as well as our old pal Maggot. Joe Cool, old friend of the channel, helping keep an eye on things for us. Thank you very much. Our new friend Andrea's here. Yeah, those trains. God, I love those. I love those old trains. Cousin Vinny in his house. Good to see all of you here. Thank you very much for joining me. Internet person. If you're just joining, perhaps consider giving a guy one of these. Give me a like, give me a thumbs up. Maybe you're new here. Maybe you just stumbled here. I don't know. You're just like surfing around, and hey, there's some weirdo up in Canada, and he's doing a live stream about 70s TV shows, and maybe you're liking what you're seeing here. Maybe. If so, maybe click the subscribe button or something, if you like. The guy's not going to hold your feet to the fire or anything. I'm not going to rake you over with coals or nothing. Once again, links for everything below, such as links for my channel over on BitChute and, of course, Rumble, which I'm streaming live right now as we speak. So shout out to everybody over on the Rumbles. 3 of you watching on Rumble, so thank you very much. Howdy. 23 watching here on the HooTubes. Ancient One, thank you very much. I try, Talked about it before. It's so easy to get, when we look at these topics, right? We've been lied to, hidden history, timelines being mucked around with, the size, shape, and composition of our realm. All these wolves many wolves have been pulled over many of our eyes for a long time. Our ocular sphericals have been blinded, and it's easy to get frustrated and get angry, right? Especially if you have a channel and you're deep into research, or you do a lot of research to help out a channel, or maybe it's your hobby and you like looking into this kind of stuff. It can get frustrating, even get angry. You can get your dander up. So it's important once in a while to just kind of have a little fun with it. I know that Lucius Aurelian has talked about that as well. He says he's caught some heat from some of his viewers for kind of, joking around and stuff. It's like, really? Come on. Got to have a little bit. You got to look at these topics, and you got to chop them down at the knees and knock them down to our size so you can look it right in the eye. And the best way to chop something down at the knees is to have a little fun, All right, so we left off with did we leave off with? We left off with Saint Elsewhere. Oh man, we're going to wrap it up here. I've got 3 more to go. We're going to wrap it up with 3 of my favorites from when I was a kid. Remember this one? Remember this one? Boom, again, right up there. Slow down now. I can't. It's that fast editing, right? It's the 70s. They get that funky, groovy music, and then they got to have the fast cut editing. But boom, again, right out of the gates. Beautiful city there in the background. Bunch of old world buildings there amongst the new monstrosity. Boom! It's almost going too fast. It's almost going too fast for the guy's ocular sphericals to keep track of what the who's it. Of course, you got to have the streetcar. I mean, that's old world tech. Come on. I think those were rediscovered and reverse engineered, much like what everybody was talking about in the chat regarding the steam locomotive train engine things that I love. Yeah, shoveling shoveling coal into a boiler to boil the water to make steam. Get out of here. You just use radium to get that water hot enough to come to a boil to create steam. The rest is just pressure valves. You build up enough pressure to drive the engine. Oh yeah, you gotta love the wow wow waka, 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 waka. Colors and Terry's hilarious if you hadn't noticed. All right, let's keep it rolling here. Oh, another one. I think zooming in. Let's see, it's those fast cuts, man. Fast cuts. Boom. Now, if you're from San Francisco, again, you might be like, yeah, big deal, Frankie. I got to stare at that damn thing every day and rush hour traffic. And again, you'll have to pardon my ignorance. I'm not familiar with, a lot of the names or streets of a lot of these big, beautiful American cities. Except for from my childhood television viewing days, of course. And this was a great show. Carl Malden and Michael Douglas. Come on.
Streets of San Francisco, a Quinn Martin production. Starring Carl Malden. Also starring Michael Douglas.
Oh, what was that? What was that thing? What's that? That's a nice, that's a beauty. Come on now. Work with me here. All right. That's a butte. I don't know what that is. Train station? Something? I don't know. It's gorgeous though. Come on, man. Don't buy too quick. You see what I mean, though? It's just, what is it that Mr. Plunkett from Red Letter Media YouTube channel says? Yeah, you didn't notice it, but your brain did. I think as an 8-year-old kid, again, I'm not getting jazzed up by these old world buildings here on the street, or these water towers and this and that. But looking at it now, wow, absolutely beautiful. Much like I said during that Friendly Giant live stream, like it's no wonder I'm so interested in the beautiful craftsmanship of these old world buildings, even the ones that are Victorian tart-ups, right? To quote a phrase that was coined by another YouTuber, another old world explorer, my friend Dave Ebony there over in the UK. As far as I know, he coined that phrase, Victorian tart-up. Even if they take an old world brick building and they put all the fancy schmancy stuff and embellishments on it to try to emulate what used to be in the old world, it's still just so beautiful. It's so aesthetically pleasing.
With guest stars Nicholas Colasanto, Victor French.
Remember Victor French? Isn't he on Little House on the Prairie? Speaking of old world shows.
Anthony Caruso, Harry Rhodes.
The hell damn fool way is that to spell Harry?
Tonight's episode, Death Watch.
Tonight's episode, Death Watch. Dun, dun, dun. Neutral mass, howdy, howdy. Perfect for a mullet pick, yeah. Yeah, it was one of those old world white cities or golden cities, right? It was, not only was it an old world city, but I think it had a special significance. Same as Chicago. There was just certain cities here in the quote unquote New World that were just, you know, I don't know, sort of more capital type cities. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. It's hard to explain. Old World Hamster Wheel Crane says, Dr. Quinn is some old world beauty. Yeah. And TPR says, you know it. Accidentally had him. How do you accidentally have a mullet, Bill? Oh, it's accidentally. It's like finding out your teenage daughter's pregnant. How did that happen? It was an accident. Oh, okay. All right. Let's see what else we got here. This was another favorite. Of course, again, I made mention of this at the top of the show because the car is so distracting. And again, it's going to have the funky music and the quick cuts for drama. But see if you can spot the old world in Starsky and Hutch. Boom, right there. 4 seconds. 4 seconds in, and you got this arched windows. Looks like some kind of stone building, maybe, with that sort of burgundy reddish surround that big window. It looks like I don't think it's an awning. It looks like it's got a sign on it or something. That's a beaut. Oh, they're in the alleyway on the left-hand side. Some arched windows there. And then actually the building on the building on the left, arched windows. Building on the right, brick with sort of it's got that lower portion that they embellish to make it look like the foundation. I call that the fake or phony foundation. It's a hell of a car, though. Come on. Crazy looking brick wall there. What the heck was that all about? See that? Weird. There's the old steam radiator there beside the drapes. Careful your drapes don't catch fire there now. Hoogie Bit. Why did that car blow up? Just because he jumped out of it, it blew up. There's nobody behind the wheel. Self-destruct, engage. Like, what is it? Oh, it hit that pile of dirt. Oh, okay. Yes, those flammable piles of dirt, much like the flammable brick and stone buildings that burn down in all these great city fires. This is the closing. It's just it's just that one frame. But yeah, again, it goes by quick. You gotta have kind of a quick eye. But yeah, there's some old world buildings in there. Again, the car is so distracting. see what else we got. I think I have one more here. Not mistaken. Ah, yes. Yes. I kind of saved this one to last. Not so much because of the opening, although there's a bit, but in the outro, you see it quite easily. I'm sure before the before the text even came up on the screen, everybody knew the first 2-3 bars of that song what it was going to be. You know, I mean, this one is just a classic TV show. This was a pretty good, pretty funny show back then. It holds up again. It's kind of 50-50. But I wonder what that used to be before it was founded. Yeah, this part. So you can see it pretty good in the intro and as well as in the outro. But just these, it's sort of one after another of these, I guess, brownstones, or I don't know what they are. But just all the beautiful detail of the brickwork, the stone above the windows, like the keystones, and yeah, just the alternating colors of bricks and so on. Even here, underneath the L there. Actually, if I pull it back, right, see right there on the left, whatever that thing is too. That's a neat old world building. Looks to me like it has arched windows, maybe some diamond shaped in the brickwork, maybe above the windows. It's hard to tell. Again, apologies, right? It's very grainy, 70s. Some street toughs. Look out. Got some Brooklyn street toughs.
Always could spot.
Is he drinking a brewski while he's just walking down? He's just having a barley sandwich. Just walking down the street with his... I'm hot. It's hot out, so I'm going to cut the sleeves off my vest, but it's also a little chilly, so I'm going to have a fur collar on it too. That way I got all the bases covered. I get to show off my muscles, but I stay fairly warm.
Friend, welcome back. And I smile when I think how you must have been. And
There's a bunch more here. You can see low windows on all of these too. All of these have like a half window poking up out from the sidewalk there, underneath the large full windows, which have a nice windowsill with a little sort of a support work done in stone, it looks like too, underneath, sort of the main window. But then right underneath that, short, stumpy little windows that, I don't know. To me, they kind of look like they're shooting right down into the ground there a little bit. Very suspect anyway. After another. Some of them are brick, some of them are brick and stone, but they all have those really low windows down there. Yeah, Cyril Mill in the box. He says, Warriors, come out to play. Yeah, great movie. Outstanding movie. That's one of the favorite asbestos movies, in my opinion. I love that movie.
welcome back. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome.
Yeah, I think so too. I think Mud Flutters. Yeah. Yep. I always remember this even when I was a kid. This guy just riding down the street on a unicycle. I guess every neighborhood has their neighborhood weirdo. This guy was doing hipster stuff before hipster was hipster. I'm just going to ride my unicycle down the street. Or sorry, I guess he's from Brooklyn. Hey, I'm unicycling over here. That's more Joe Pesci. I don't know. I can't do a Brooklyn accent. Again, a Volkswagen right there. You can spot it. Right there, the red one. Just on the other side of the intersection. Volkswagen Beetle. So yeah, there you go. Stroll down memory lane. Sharing a little bit of television viewing childhood there. I guess to I don't know, I guess to a lot of us of a certain age, I'm not old, but guys get long in the tooth. I'm 53. So for somebody in around my age, shows in the 70s, they kind of seem like yesterday, but somebody who's in their 20s or in their 30s, geez, stuff from that was on TV 50 years ago. That's like 2 lifetimes ago. So I thought it would be interesting just to kind of bring it up to the forefront and just kind of have the peekaboo at the backgrounds, the buildings, the old world stuff in the backgrounds of some of these just quick little intros of these shows. And again, at the time, they were probably filmed as part of the opening or closing, the intros and outros of these sitcoms or these 1 hour 70s like cop dramas or hospital shows, because these were landmark buildings, in some cases, right? Like the Laverne and Shirley and the WKRP, a lot of what they showed were landmark. So that's, I guess, to kind of help. The show revolves around that city, right? I mean, the Cincinnati's in the title of the dang show, so they best show some old buildings from stuff that is distinctly from Cincinnati, I guess. But I just found it fascinating because I know that, especially in the shows that show New York and San Francisco skyline in the background, a lot of those buildings aren't there anymore. I mean, we've seen that happen in Detroit. We've seen that happen in St. Louis, too. St. Louis and Detroit, for some reason, really got picked on. Chicago's being picked on right now. Some of the boroughs in New York got it real bad too, right? The Bronx. This ain't New York. This is the Bronx. The Bronx was like Detroit, and it was painful to watch in the 70s and 80s. They purposely let huge sections of these beautiful old world cities fall into disrepair and become slums. The property value goes down. They flatten everything. They bulldoze everything. They start fires, and whoops! No, there was an accidental fire, or it was a gas main leak fire, or it was arson. But it's probably insurance scammers. They burn these places down, and they level entire neighborhoods, and then they let them sit there, and they become basically garbage dumps, and they leave it like that for decades. And some land developer comes in and buys up all the land for pennies on the dollar and redevelops it with all these big, crappy, rectangular refrigerator box looking monstrosities. And they throw in a couple of public parks, a school, and a couple of green spaces, and they say, there you go, it's a community. Well, the trees are nice, and the canal that runs through the neighborhood is nice. Appreciate that. But these buildings are fugly. Why couldn't you just maintain the old world buildings, you jerks? Well, that too, right? All the drugs and crime and booze and mental illness. But isn't it funny how some drugs ended up in some neighborhoods and not in others? I mean, suburban kids were getting hooked on drugs too, but they were having to drive into the inner cities to pick up the drugs that they wanted to get, at least in the 70s, this time period we're talking about, before it finally made its way out to every little suburb and small town and all over the place. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, they were meant to be, and they were let to be turned into slums. Yeah, St. Louis, Detroit, parts of Harlem, definitely the Bronx, parts of Brooklyn, Chicago right now. I mean, and I'm sure there's many, many others. It's too bad, Calgary here, we have yeah, exactly. They introduced drugs, absolutely. And wherever the drugs and are, people who are dealing with their own personal demons that keep you running through the revolving door of the mental health system and eventually get pushed back out onto the streets. They turn to drugs too, so they end up in those neighborhoods. So you get drug dealers, which brings in crime. You get the drug addicts, then you get people that are mentally afflicted. It just becomes a powder keg, right? Now, Calgary's different. Yeah, we have our sketchier areas, the East Village, but there's not much there to the East Village. It's pretty small. You go like 4 or 5 square blocks, maybe 6 square blocks. That's it. So, you know, there's the odd hobo that'll stand on the corner and scream and yell profanities at anybody that walks by. You know, it is what it is. But our narrative is that we're a boom town because of that there oil. So rather than just, they don't have time. They don't have time to let these neighborhoods become ghettos like parts of Detroit or parts of New York or Chicago or wherever. They don't have time for that. What they do is say, oh, that building's 50 years old. Knock it down. That building's 150. Oh, we should have knocked that down a long time ago. Knock it down. Knock it down. We gotta build office towers and condos. So they don't even have time to really become too run down before they get the wrecking ball. It's so it's one or the other, right? It's that slow, painful death by 1,000 paper cuts, or it's the blink of an eye. I've gone out to film many boots on the ground videos because I'm like, oh, I know where there's a cool old church, or oh, I know where there's a cool old this or that or the other, and I go there and it's gone. Heck, just a couple of weeks ago, I went to look at a couple of old world brick buildings that had beautiful sandstone details on them. Nice 2-story brick buildings. I've shown many of that type here on the channel before, but I go to the East Village to film them. They're gone, knocked down. I was like, okay, there goes that idea. I mean, they were here 2 weeks ago. Like literally 2 weeks earlier, they were there. They're knocking them down faster than I can film them. Yeah, I think they're still on Street View. One of them was brick that was covered in that old story. It's a brick building, and they cover the main floor with wooden siding, and then the second floor they cover with wooden shingles. Then the one next to it, I think they had eventually put vinyl or aluminum siding on it. But I know they were brick underneath because if you go around to the alley and behind, you can see where they didn't bother at the back side of certain parts of the house. Like I think the main floor of the wooden siding and wooden shingle house, the back of that, the main floor, they left the brick exposed. But yeah, oftentimes you're right. They're still on the street view. I should have a look-see. But I mean, it doesn't help with the boots on the ground because they are gone. There's just big wooden crates filled with bricks sitting there now. So I guess they're going to try to repurpose whatever the construction company is, or the demolition company, or whatever, the developer, whoever got rid of them. Maybe they're going to try to repurpose those bricks. It's hard to say. Yeah, exactly. They build some 50-year junker, right? A lot of buildings that are built in the 70s, they're looking at them now and they're going, yeah, that was crap. We probably shouldn't have built that quickly and that sloppily and cut those corners like we did. And, this and that and the other, right? But stuff that was built in the 1890s, 1880s, by what they tell us anyways, by the little sign above the door that says 1892, or it's carved in there, ding 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 ding, in the sandstone. So it's got to be true, but I mean, it is what it is. You got to kind of, even by their own narrative, 150-year-old building, there it is, still standing. As long as it's looked after, it'll last forever, it seems. But these 50-year-old skyscrapers, they're like, first of all, they don't look so good. at least the stuff that was built in the 30s and 40s, kind of, they at least still tried to give them some style. But once you got out of the 50s and into the 60s, just became brutalist and minimalist. And then everybody's trying to make a buck, save a buck. I mean, if you came to somebody now and when you showed them a picture of like one of these, like the Vanderbilt house or something, one of these old world type estate type robber baron style houses from back in the 1890s or 1880s, and you said, yeah, hey, buddy, can you build me one of these over here on my plot of land that I just bought? They'd be like, I mean, are you sure? Yeah, I want exactly like this. Are you sure? Yes. All right, it's going to cost you like $5 million and it's going to take us probably 5 years. What? But if you look on the Wikipedia here, it says that the Vanderbilt mansion was built in, 18 months or whatever. Nope, not going to happen. Not going to happen. So there you go. I think that's going to do it here for tonight. Oh, Ben's here. Ben Barker in the box says, and our stadiums don't last. Well, we still have Wrigley Field and the Red Sox Stadium. Yeah, or even the stadium at Stadium High School. You get some of these big college and high school stadiums that were built in the 20s, so they tell us. Some of them even earlier than that. And they're still standing. But yeah, you get these big, like the Olympic Stadium in Montreal. There's giant chunks of concrete falling off that thing all the time. And I think up until the 90s, it was built in, I think, the 70s or 60s, 70s. I want to say, I can't remember. But up until, I think, the 90s or the early 2000s, they were still paying for it. Because, it's Montreal. So the mafia got involved and expenses tripled, of course. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right, Ben. Yeah, dug out of the mud in 18 months. That's probably more like it. So what did you think of that? Nice little stroll down memory lane. If you're a child of the 70s like I am, if you grew up in Canada or the US, I'm sure a lot of those shows were very familiar. But of course, hindsight being 2020, right? I look back on it now and it's like, wow, look at that. And again, some of them are just real quick shots. You almost got to have your finger on the pause button at all times to be able to hook your spherical oculars onto the thing. But there's more out there, I'm sure. I mean, this was just a quick, a couple of nights of scrolling through on the interwebs to find shows. There's others where there's a few quick shots, but not really worth diving into too much, like the Barney Miller Show and the Mary Tyler Moore Show and Maude. Any show where the city almost becomes a character of the show, much like Seinfeld with New York, that whole thing too, right? Cheers in Boston, Frasier in Seattle. Not every show put as much emphasis on whatever city it took place as some of the shows we looked at. So I guess it stands to reason that you're going to see some landmark buildings, and man, did we see some beauties. So there you go. I think I'm getting ready to wind this thing down here, just past the 2-hour mark, just after 7 p.m. local time here in Calgary. So thank you very much once again, everybody, for shooting in, joining me here for another live one. Frankie, New West Reset Live, episode 41 here tonight. Old World on 70's TV. Again, links for BitChute, MeWe, Rumble, and as well my email down in the description box below there. Again, if you have any ideas, anything you want me to cover, more than happy to look into it. Coming up next week, of course, this coming Sunday, boots on the ground video for you. And I already gave you a sneak peek at your midweek for Wednesday, the old steam train. Next Friday, we'll see you again here for another live. Got a suggestion that I think I'm going to be looking at from our new friend Andrea, actually. Be having a look at that guy doesn't want to let the cat out of the bag. Stay tuned to the channel, you'll see. Also coming up later next week as well, episode 8 of the Knucklehead Show with myself and Old World Exploration. We're going to be looking at Victoria, British Columbia, which was also a suggestion from a viewer. In fact, I think that came from, where did that come from? I think that came from Liz. Yeah, that came from Liz. It's a viewer of the channel and often gives great suggestions. So yeah, Chris over at Old World Exploration and myself will be looking at Victoria, British Columbia, up here in Canada land. I believe that will be Saturday. So again, keep your peepers peeled onto my channel and over Chris over at Old World Exploration for the exact times. Yes. Woohoo! The Knucklehead Show. Well, we're just a couple of knuckleheads, eh? A couple of Canucks up here having fun, eh? So you know how we like to do it up here, eh? So yeah, keep it tuned here. And again, thank you very much. And once again, a happy belated Thanksgiving to all my American friends down there. Enjoy your turkey, your mashed potatoes and gravy, and all the fixings. Maybe some apple pie or maybe some pumpkin pie. I don't know. Maybe you do like stuffed beagle and you'll have a pecan pie. Pecan pie. Pecan pie. Delicious. A little dollop of ice cream on top. Boom. Bob's your uncle. So I think that's going to seal the deal here for tonight. Once again, Frankie, New West Reset and New West Reset Live, episode 41. So thank you very much, everybody, once again, for shooting in and joining a fella here. Appreciate it as always. Till the next one, take care out there and have yourselves a good one. All right? Cheers.